The Singer Scholastic. Is it a good machine for beginners? I have a few things to say about that to help you make your decision. So before we get started, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. I do a lot of videos on sewing machines, alterations, projects, creative stuff, and more. So, Scholastic implies that it is meant for someone who is learning, but is it? No, in my opinion. So, I'll tell you my biggest gripe with this being called the Singer Scholastic machine. It doesn't have speed control, and it's also very touchy. So when you press on the pedal, it kind of makes like a sound, and then it just takes off. And I've had a lot of young seamstresses and seamsters sew on this machine, and a lot of them are actually afraid of it. It really takes off, and then you can kind of let off the pedal and you can get it to come down to a more reasonable speed, but it's pretty tough to hit the pedal and get it to start slowly. So that's my biggest issue with this. I wish it had a speed control or just a less touchy pedal if it's going to be called the Scholastic. So that's my biggest issue with it. Another thing that I don't love about it, and this is kind of nitpicky, so a lot of machines, it doesn't matter where you stop in your sewing. When you go to remove your fabric, everything's okay. You still just have your bobbin thread coming out and your needle thread coming out. But this machine, and a lot of machines do this, but this one's pretty bad at it. If you don't stop with the needle at its highest position, it'll have two threads coming out of the bobbin area that'll get stuck. And then I have to remind the kids, just go ahead and turn that flywheel towards you just a little bit and it'll release those threads. So it's like it has to complete its rotation and be just at the right spot for you to take your project out. And that's just another extra step for kids or beginners to have to remember. And then oftentimes kids get impatient and they yank that thread out, they break it, and then it puts, tension on the needle can get bent. So I wish it was a little smoother in that regard, but that's understandable. A lot of machines do behave in that way. So those are why I wouldn't recommend it to a beginner or to anyone. I really wouldn't recommend a Singer of any kind to anyone for any reason. I'm not a fan of Singers. So, but let's talk about the positives, because I can't say it's not a reliable machine. It's been just fine. So it is reliable, and there are some things about it that I think are beginner friendly. So one thing that I do like about it is all of the different dials and things. They have actual labels for what they are. A lot of times for like the stitch width, which you can see on top here, a lot of times you'll just see that zigzag, which varies in length or in width, and that's to indicate width. And same with the stitch length, you'll just see that little dashed line that varies in length to indicate length. I do like that this one says the word width. It says the word length. That's more clear for beginners, so they don't have to decipher a symbol while they're trying to learn all this other stuff. And then it does even have a needle position here, and oftentimes that's just rolled into the width. So oftentimes on machines, if you put the width all the way to 0, then your needle will be in the center position. And sometimes that's just something you have to explain, and it is kind of nice, I guess, to have there be a whole separate dial for needle position, so it's very clear. If I want my needle in the center, this is what I do. So those are some things that are positive. Another thing that's positive is all of the little diagrams which show you how to thread the machine are very clear and numbered. So that's nice. And then also the seam allowances are actually labeled on both the left and right side of the needle. So you can see the lines there on the left and right side of the presser foot. Every other one of those lines is labeled with a fraction of an inch measurement, so that is a plus. A lot of times they're not labeled at all, they're just lines, or sometimes they're even in millimeters. And there you can see the direction of the bobbin, which direction it needs to go. They printed that on the bobbin case, so that's a positive. And also just the fact that it is a drop-in bobbin as opposed to a side-loading bobbin is a plus for beginners. Most modern machines are, though. I would also love it if it had a blade for the bobbin. A lot of machines will have a little blade right here so that you can put the bobbin in and just cut, and you do not have to do the final step of using your needle to get the thread to come up through the hole, to get that bobbin thread to come up, because that is the most confusing step for a beginner threading a machine. For one, because it's somewhat difficult for them to understand why they're doing it, and also because it's not anywhere on here. Like, they can follow all the numbers for how to thread it, but there's nothing telling them they need to do that final step, and sometimes they forget and just start sewing. And that's nitpicky too. Most machines in history have always had that need, but for a beginner, I would rather have them have something with the little blade so they don't have to do that. Another nitpicky negative is this little thread guide right above the needle. It's difficult for kids and beginners to remember how to get into that, how to kind of floss their thread behind that. It's the same as the bigger one. It's really not hard, but it could be easier. Like, some machines have just a little wire that's really easy to put the thread behind. Another kind of nitpicky negative is the reverse. If you see, I press on it, it kind of has this halfway point, and a lot of times when I tell the kids to reverse, they'll press it and then they'll hit the pedal and it doesn't go backwards because they don't realize there's like a third position you have to press pretty hard. So again, it's really not a big deal. It's just something that could have been smoother. Okay, and it doesn't have a very powerful motor. It only has a 0.7 amp motor. It doesn't have a lot of piercing power to go through a whole lot of layers, but it will do it. And if you need to, you can always crank the hand wheel by hand to get it to go through more layers. And that's okay for a beginner. The one thing I will say, though, I have to admit, it can take some abuse. So a lot of times what beginners forget to do is to lower the presser foot before they begin sewing, and a lot of machines will not tolerate that. And if you take even one stitch with the presser foot up, you'll get a jam. You'll have to take out your bobbin, you'll have to rethread the top, everything. I have to say this machine will tolerate it pretty well. Most of the time it's not even a problem. They can just put the presser foot down and continue like nothing happened. So there is that. So in conclusion, I would not have called this the Scholastic, and I would not recommend it to a beginner, mainly for the reason of the touchy pedal and the lack of speed control. I also don't like how you always have to stop with the needle at the highest position for it not to produce extra threads that hang you up, and those other little issues that I mentioned. But overall, if you have this machine, there's really nothing wrong with it. You can use it. You don't need to go out and buy another one, and it will perform pretty well for some time. So let's go ahead and thread it and go over the basics of this machine. So I'm going to cut this out, and you always want to cut your thread at the top and pull it through the way that thread goes through the machine. You shouldn't pull it through this way, even though you might be tempted to just take your spool off and pull it, and then you can save more thread. But that's actually a little bit bad for your machine because it causes lint to end up inside this part of the machine. So try to remember to make it a habit to cut and pull through. Okay, and I'll take our bobbin out as well. So you'll take your thread, and it doesn't really matter which way that it goes, and you'll put it onto the spool pin here, and then take your spool cap and put that onto the spool pin to keep your thread from flying away. Then we're going to take our thread and hook it underneath this guide, which is marked number 1, and also behind this guide. And we'll come down this first channel. Let me show you a close-up of that. Okay, so we've done step 1 and step 2. Now we'll bring the thread down this first channel here, which is marked with a 3, and then you'll come down and around this piece that's marked with a 4. So we'll come down and back up, and we're going to stay to this side of the take-up lever so we can come around, just like this is marked 5, which I'll show you. We'll come around and back down, and you'll see the thread went into the little hole inside the take-up lever. And then we bring the thread right behind this guide, like that. And then we bring it behind this guide in the same way, but it's little and it kind of takes both hands. So if you take your left hand on top and your right hand below, then you can take your finger and kind of come around like this. Like that. Fill out of this one. There, like that. Okay, and then we'll just thread it through the eye of the needle. So we want the needle to be in its highest position, really before we started all that. Okay. And we'll just thread it through the eye from front to back. And make sure you don't have it twisting at all like I just had. And pull it like that so there's no slack. So it's just coming straight through this guide, and straight through the eye of the needle from front to back. And then we bring it through this little slot on the front of the presser foot. Like that. Okay, so then we'll take the bobbin. And just like the little picture here shows, the bobbin should be, the thread on it should be going counterclockwise. So like this, not like this. And most drop-in bobbins are this way. Okay, so we put it in here. And then there's a little piece of metal right here that the thread needs to be drug through like that. Okay, so now we have to do that final step that I was talking about. So we hold the needle thread in our left hand, and then with your right hand, turn your flywheel, the big wheel on the side of your machine, turn that towards you. And the needle's going to go down and it's going to come back up, and it's going to have a loop of the bobbin thread with it. See that loop it grabbed up? See that? Those two threads coming up from there? So that's what we want. So then you just have to grab that loop and pull it out long. And that's the bobbin thread coming from the bobbin. And we used the needle to get that bobbin thread to come up through that hole in the throat plate. So now we're ready. So both of our threads should be underneath the presser foot and just laying back here, back into the left. And then we'll just put our door back on. You have to put that little tab in first. And then it clicks in. So let's try it. Okay, so we got some fabric under the presser foot, and I'm going to reach back here and lower the presser foot lever. And I'm going to hit the pedal. See what I mean there? It doesn't want to start, and then it takes off. And then you can kind of slow it to a more reasonable speed, but it's hard to actually start it slow. You can do it though. Okay, so I'm going to take it out, lift the presser foot, and that's it. We have a little thread cutter on the side here, so you can lift your two threads up over that and pull. So I think we touched on all the basics of the machine, but let's just do that again. So here's the bobbin winder. It's used in pretty much the same way as most other machines. You'll take the thread only around this circle, and you'll take it around in this way, just like this little picture shows. And then you'll come back over here having the thread come up through the hole of the top of the bobbin like shown. Put it on here, push this over. That engages the bobbin winder, then you'll hit the pedal and it'll start winding. So that's how you get thread loaded onto the bobbin, but we already had that when we started. This is the tension. You shouldn't have to mess with this too much. Try everything else before you mess with the tension. Always try to just re-thread it and take the bobbin and put it back in before you mess with that. And if you were getting a good stitch before with the tension that it was on, then you don't need to change the tension. There's needle position, which we talked about. So we have the needle centered in the presser foot. So if we would move this like so, that will move it to the right of the presser foot. See how it's no longer centered with the little oval in the presser foot? It's over here. And if you go like that, now it's over here. So I do like how clear this is. It's very clear. There's our stitch width. So, and it actually does move the needle like other machines do. So as I turn the stitch width, it does move the needle position. They just give you an additional one for needle position. So width would be used for zigzags or any other stitch that you want to vary how wide or narrow it is. Stitch length should be set to 2.5 thereabouts for a normal stitch, and then you can change this to make a more loose or a more dense stitch. And then we have our stitch selector dial where you can choose what stitch you want to do. So we have straight, we have zigzags, we have overcasts, we have some buttonholes. And then over here we've got our flywheel, which you always turn towards you, and that makes your needle go up and down manually. And we've got our power switch. And you can remove this to expose the free arm if you were sewing something round like a pant leg, so that it could go on here and you wouldn't sew your pant leg shut. And then it does actually have the ability to drop the feed dogs back here. If you switch this, your jaggy feed dogs, which pull your fabric through, would no longer pull your fabric through, and then you could do free motion where you're basically drawing with the thread and you are controlling it. So there you have it. There's how to use the Singer Scholastic, and there's my 2 cents on it. If you do have this machine, I hope I didn't discourage you. It'll still serve you well, and you can make things with it and you can learn things on it. It's just a pet peeve of mine that they call it the Scholastic. So hope that was helpful to you. Leave me a comment below if you like, if you have an opinion on this machine, or if you have this machine. I would love to hear how you use it, how it's doing, what you think of it. So again, please like my video and please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me to know what everybody would like to see. I like to do machine tutorials and different project tutorials, like I said, alterations, stuff like that. And you can also check out our website. We have a lot of sewing basics, like kits for beginners, machine maintenance kits are coming, stuff like that. So head over to shoppindrop.com to see all that stuff. And you can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.